post it. I don't know how to rewind it. I don't think it'll rewind it back because if you hit rewind, it'll play from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Just starting on
I'm trying to stop this class because of the stream. Go ahead and play it.
Yeah. Well, let people come back. Shalom, shalom, brother. Jake Reed. He's to continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
On high. Yahweh was set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And this would occur if we listened and followed and hearkened to the voice of the mighty one of Jacob. But we didn't. We forsook his law and did not walk in his ways. And he gave us a stern warning what would happen if we would not hearken unto him. Notice verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And that's where we are today. We are a recipient of the curses that overcame us and not the blessings, because we did not hearken to the words of the Most High, but we went away from his commandments. And he said, it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken, to observe to do all the commandments and all these statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and shall overtake thee. Now I read some of the curses last week, so I'll quickly go through them until we get to where we left off last week at the 32nd verse. But look at verse 15 or 16. The greatest said, curses should be thou in the city, and curses should be thou in the field. And that lets our people know that according to his prophecies, whether we're in the south or not, whether we're in the south or whether we're in the city, it doesn't make any difference. You can't outrun the words of the true and living Elohim. If he said you're going to be cursed, you can move to New York, Chicago, or the biggest city in the United States, and they still going to take you down to the bottom of these jails, stick brooms and mops in your tail, as they have done our people here. You're going to still always be the last hired and the first fired. It's always going to be open season on you as far as killing. The other day I was looking at one of our people in a wheelchair. Couldn't even walk. And they grabbed him, grabbed by both arms and slammed him into the pavement face first. And this was done to a man that was totally incapacitated. Couldn't walk, paralyzed, and they took him in on the street. Notice what the Creator said, and notice who he's talking to. Verse 16. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. And I left off last week, let that know that there's nobody in the world that have a worse diet than the so-called black man in America. We eat the worst food, and we have the shortest lifespan than anybody on earth because of this filth that we eat. Our white counterpart in America, his lifespan is automatically 10 years over ours because of various situations that we're confronted at with a people, as a people. Notice verse 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and of thy flocks, and of thy sheep. And here's where the Creator is putting a curse on us when we were in our land. He cursed our body. He cursed the fruit of our body and the fruit of our flocks and our herds. And you know that when in effect, because right now we don't have a land. We're the only people on the face of this earth that were taken out of their own land to the act of captivity and never returned. We are the only people on the face of this earth that's waiting to Yemenim that's waiting to return home. No other people can you find in that situation. You can go to the Mexicans, Hispanics, the Chinese, the Koreans, go to any other people and say, well, where's your land? Where's your country? Where's your nation? And he'll tell you. And those lands are accessible to them. You ask our people where the land is, they'll tell you, I don't know. They brought us from Africa, the continent of Africa. We don't know what nation they took us from. We just know that we came from the continent of Africa. But we don't know our nationality. We don't know our identity. We don't know, and we're waiting to yet be returned. Everyone that has any good sense is still waiting to go home one day. But some of our people have been so indoctrinated that they think this is their home. And they're willing to fight and die to remain in the land of their captivity. You hear what I said? Our people are ready to fight and die just to remain in the land where they will always be the last hired and the first fired, where they will always be discriminated and exploited, where they always will be in a position where the Creator said He will show us no favor. A real black man wants nationalization. He wants to have a black nation. He wants to govern his own self. He wants to have his own nation. Every war that was ever fought on the face of this earth was all fought over one thing, and that is land. Land is and always has been their only basis of freedom. Nobody ever fought a war so they could vote. Nobody ever fought a war so they could try to integrate with another people. All wars were fought for independence. And to have independence, you got to have land. Land is and always has been the only basis for a man being free. Only then can he assert self-determination. Only then can he talk about having his own system, his own agriculture, his own educational system, his own farming system, his own army, his own independence. We celebrate other people's independence like the biggest food in the world on the 4th of July. You will see our people acting the biggest food in the world, celebrating another man's independence, but our people don't want any independence of their own. We don't want to be separated from the white man. And then we wonder why he called us a boy. He fought to come over here and take another man's land, to be able to dominate another man, to be able to rule and control another man. And all you want to do is have a piece of the pie. Not your own land, not your own independence, but all you want is to tell the white man, listen, all I want to do is integrate, assimilate, and evaporate. I don't want my land, I don't want independence, I just want a piece of the pie. If you let me just have a piece of your pie, I'm willing to go and die and fight and lose my legs, arms, and limbs for your independence because I'm too trifling and too shiftless and too indolent to want to develop my own independence as any intelligent man would want to do. I don't have those values. I don't have those virtues. I just want to remain the highest paid slave in the world. This is the condition of our people mentally. Let's continue.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in.
What verse is that?
Verse 19.
Verse 19, it said, cursed should be thou when I cometh in.
And cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
When we're born, we're listed as Negro or colored folks, African American, and we catch hell and discriminated from the cradle to the grave. We curse when we come in and curse when we go out.
Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and a rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do.
And this is us. You have individuals that have achieved certain things. But we as a people are the most downtrodden, exploited, degraded people on the face of this earth. There's nobody in America that is downtrodden as we. And we can't point our fingers at the Hispanics anymore. As I brought to your attention, their unemployment is 12%. Ours is 16%. They have jobs that we used to have because of the immigration program that your president set in, where he allowed the Hispanics to come in and take your jobs because he's looking for their vote. He's not trying to do anything for you because he knows he got your vote just because he's black. He don't have to earn it. He can just come and collect it. So him being the politician that he is, he's out there to try to get the votes from the people that he knows that he had to earn that vote. He got to earn that from them. He don't have to earn it from you. He don't have to promise you anything, and he don't have to give you anything that he has. All he has to do is look like you. And you're so happy to have a man that's the president of a clan that looks like you. You don't know what to do. And he don't have to give you anything at all. To show you the condition of our people, the president of the United States of America had a personal friend, a man that was his acquaintance, that it was his friend, that the policemen arrested him in his house. He showed them all the credentials that he lived here. His pictures were on the walls. He had all his credentials, all the papers, and they still took him in his house and arrested him. The president was so insulted, he said, well, that's really stupid. And it was stupid. But after the policemen began to criticize him, you know what happened. The rest is history. He took the policeman that had discriminated against one of his personal friends and invited him to the White House to drink beer with him. Now, if he's going to do this to a man that discriminated and misused and degraded his personal friend, what would he do if somebody did it to you and I, who he don't know? He wouldn't even get the papers. He would never bat his eye. It would mean nothing. Just as all the racial incidents in America today are occurring, it doesn't mean nothing to him as long as he gets your vote. Let's finish.
Yahweh, verse 20. Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing,
curses,
vexations,
and
rebuke.
You know what rebuke means? That they're going to shun you. They're going to rebuke you in all that you set it thy hand unto to do, until I be destroyed, and until I perish quickly, because of thy
wickedness, of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
And because we have forsaken the Most High.
Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, where thou go to possess it.
And that's a matter of history. It did. All the plagues that he sent to us in Jerusalem and the promised land, they clung to us and they were cleaving it to us until he drove us out of our land.
Yahweh shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Now, what is he talking about? He's talking about all the diseases that we have, that we got in this land as a result of our disobedience to him. Right now in America, we are the people that have the shortest lifespan than anybody here. Make less money than anybody here. The most unemployed than anybody here. And y'all said all these things, all this information, all of this arthritis and rheumatism and gout, all this cancer and this extreme burning and the sword and mildew shall cleave unto thee, until thou be destroyed.
And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Yahweh shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee.
Yes, he turned the land and the elements against us because of our disobedience to him.
Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
And that's what happened. Yah said we would go out one way and flee 7 different ways because he's not with you. And when the Most High is not with you, nobody's with you. And that's means nobody's with us today. We have no allies of any nation in the world. No allies. No one came to our aid. Everyone here is to exploit our people. And Yah said we will go out against our enemy 7 ways and flee. Go out one way and flee 7 ways until we be destroyed. And we will be removed into all the kingdoms of earth. And that is true. Every nation on this earth have some of our people living there. Believe it or not, when they got to America, they already had some blacks living here. You had blacks in Europe. You had blacks in China. You had blacks, and a lot of soldiers from Vietnam told me when they was over there fighting, they seen Vietnamese up in those hills that were blacker than the native men. Our Creator removed us into all the kingdoms upon the face of this earth.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall freight him away.
No man should assist us in our recovery.
Yahweh will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed.
And he will put these diseases on us. These diseases that will cleave on our people, and he said there will be no healing, there will be no remedy to them.
Yahweh shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart.
And you know that's what's happening today. When you see our people out here selling drugs to each other, when you see the unprecedented killing of one another, men shooting their brothers and sisters as if they were some kind of little animals or play toys that would not die, you would see that our people are truly mad. Many of our elders are afraid to go out of their houses at night because of madness and sickness that's in these streets. That's pitiful. Once the man, the older man that was honored and looked up to, now he's afraid to go out of his house when the sun goes down because he's afraid of being victimized by people that's young as his grandson and his great-grandson. He feared him, and he got good reason to, because there's madness in communities and the streets of America. It is madness and sickness. And he said he would smite our people with madness and astonishment of heart.
And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed, and spoiled evermore.
Now we're not prospering in our ways. Many of us had construction companies where we were doing roofing work and having our construction companies and working at hotels and bellhops and managers. Now all you have to do is go in those restaurants. Look and see who's the shelves. Look and see who's the managers. Look and see who's on the rooftops. So look and see who have the construction trucks. Right in our own community where we pay taxes at, you see everybody earning a big living except somebody that looks like you. We're not prospering because the Almighty said that we weren't. And you could put any of these politicians in office and you're going to have the same thing. Nothing is going to change. Because when they get in office, they will themselves start looking out for their own pockets. There's a verse in the Bible that says, well, man's treasure is, there his heart shall also be.
Sounds like what? Okay.
That's in the New Testament.
Okay, that is in the New Testament. That's let me see. That's Luke chapter 12, verse 34 and 21. Luke 12 and 34 and 21. Okay, correct.
I don't quote that much, but that is a fact. And if it's a truth, I got to recognize it. That is one of the truths that's in the New Testament. Where a man's treasure is, there his heart shall also be. And once they get on that council and get to making $50,000, $60,000, $1,000 a year for just doing a few hours work, or not even no work at all, just being at a couple of meetings, he's not going to turn that loose. He's going to do whatever is necessary to secure their position again. And a politician, they don't do what's right and they don't do what's wrong, but they do what is expedient. And that means what is necessary for them to get back in office. And whatever that takes, they're going to do, because they're not going to want to miss that gravy train once you put them on the table with master. You're going to want that gravy train, and he will sell you out to remain there, just as these other politicians have done in the past and are doing as I speak to you this day.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house.
And you know that happened to us. And you know what that's speaking of. Read that again, verse 30.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell there again. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
Notice, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. And you know that because all you have to do is see a room full of blacks, and all of us got a different complexion. The reason our complexions are so different because there's not a black man in America that came here as a slave that other men were not laying with our wives. The plantation owner lay with any young girl he pleased. And anytime he wanted another man's wife, he just told his overseer to fetch her and send her up to his house. And there was nothing that the husband could do. He couldn't say, no, that's my wife. Where are you taking her to? I'm married to her. I have children by her. You can't take her and let her sleep with another man. She belongs to me. That's not right. This man does not consider what's right and wrong. He's not about what is right. He's about what is wicked. And if he can get by doing it, he'll do it.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee.
And that happened. My granddaddy didn't tell me down south. They want to go and grab your ox. They want to grab your sheep, grab on your cattle. You hope that they don't, but if they wanted to, there was nothing you could do. You couldn't go down and say, hey, policeman, this man came on my farm and took my house, and took my cattle, and took my horse. There was nothing they could do. They could just pray and hope that they wouldn't do it, because if they did do it, there was nothing they could do about it. It said, thy ox shall be slain before thy eyes, and thou shalt not eat of it. Thy ass shall be violently taken away before thy face, and thou shalt not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemy, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. We didn't have no soldiers, we didn't have no sheriffs, we didn't have no policemen, we didn't have nobody to go and say, hey, that belonged to that black man. Give it back. That's his. None. He then said in verse 32,
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand.
Isn't that something? Almighty, let us know that when we came to America, that we would endure a type of slavery that's not even written in the annals of history. There had been no type of slavery existing on the face of the earth. Whereas a man took a man's wife and sons and daughters and completely separated the families, completely tore them apart, completely took their culture away. And once they changed their name, they destroyed your culture. And that's what they did to our people. And when they took our sons and daughters and sold them right before our eyes, the Almighty said there would be no might in your hand. We had no shotgun or no 357 or no 9 millimeter that we could go and rescue our sons and daughters. We had no might in our hand at all.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away.
And there shall only be oppressed and crushed away.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes.
You should be mad for the sight of thy eyes, which thou shalt see. And that's the condition that a lot of our people were in today, just as they were many years ago. The scripture says oppression will even make a wise man mad. With this kind of oppression, how else can a man be except mad at the sight of his eyes what he was seeing, because it was really unbelievable, unimaginable, undescribable. Somebody taking their little baby daughter and selling her and snatching her out of your hands and out of your arms and giving her to another man, and you know you would never see your daughter again in her life. You know they would take your son and sell him to a plantation and another son and ship him to another state where they would never see each other again. What else can a man do but for madness to come and possess his mind and his eyes? And it said, thou shalt be mad. They shall be mad for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see. It's enough to make a brass smoking cry.
Yahweh shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs.
With all that arthritis and rheumatism and gout he's speaking of.
With a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. Yahweh shall bring thee, and thy king which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Notice this. We had great kings, and our kings, such as Solomon, in commerce, with all the kings all over Africa, with all the Assyrian kings, with all the Syrian kings, with all the kings of Ethiopia and Ghana and Libya. He was all over Mesopotamia, making trades and dealing in commerce, and they knew Israel, and Israel knew them. But notice what Yah said in verse 33. Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. That happened to us. He's speaking of America, brothers and sisters. He's speaking of us coming here. He's not talking about nobody, no place in Africa. He's talking about us coming to this land in ships, as you will read. That will explain in the next few verses.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword amongst all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee.
Notice what Yah said, thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword amongst all nations, where Yahweh shall lead thee. Why? Why did God allow this to befall us? If we go to 1 Kings, the 9th chapter, notice what it says in the book of 1 Kings, the 9th chapter. We want to deal with this for a few moments. Notice, start reading in verse 6.
But if ye should at all turn from following me,
Which we did,
ye or your children,
and will not keep my commandments,
and my statutes,
which I set before you,
but go and serve other gods,
and worship them,
then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them,
and this house
which I have hallowed,
will I cast out of my sight,
and Israel shall be a proverb,
be a proverb
and a byword
and a byword
amongst all people.
amongst all people. So we don't make no difference. We are a proverb and a byword amongst all people. I don't care how intelligent you think your little boy and girl is. Let's take one of the best schools in Cincinnati, Walnut Hill School. Look how your son is a proverb. If the teacher asks every child in that room to stand up and tell the class their nationality, every child in that room will be able to do that from any other nation except our people. One child would go and say, well, I'm English American, I'm Italian American, I'm Irish American. Somebody might say, I'm Japanese American, Chinese American, Korean American, I'm Ethiopian American, I'm Ghanaian American, I'm Kenyan American. Well, you get to our people, I'm just an Afro American. What does that mean? What does that symbolize? That symbolizes that you know what continent you come from, but you don't know your nation. You don't know your identity because you don't have no nationality. You don't know what nation you derived from. So when other blacks say they're Kenyan American or an Ethiopian American, all you can do is say, well, I'm just an African American. Well, all of them are African American, but they say, what is your nationality? Not what continent did you come from. And everybody can tell the people that except your son, your daughter, because they don't know it, because Yahweh said they would become a proverb and a byword amongst all the nations whether I have sent them. I will cast them out of my sight, and Israel should be a proverb and a byword amongst all people.
And at this house,
Which
is high,
which was one of the highest houses in the world,
everyone that passes by it shall be
they
astonished,
should be astonished and shall hiss,
and they shall say,
why has Yahweh done thus unto this land and unto this house?
and they shall answer,
Because they forsook Yahweh the Elohim,
who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt,
and have taken hold upon other gods,
and have worshipped them,
and served them.
therefore hath Yahweh brought upon them all this evil.
Therefore Yahweh hath brought upon us all this evil. Our people think it's a pleasure to have a religion. And they want to criticize Elisha because Elisha condemns these religions. And they will say, well, everybody has a right to have the religion of his choice. Brothers and sisters, God did not give us a religion. When Moses went up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, Moses did not come down with 10 different religions. Moses did not come down with 10 different denominations. Moses came down to the children of Israel and came and brought them the commandments and covenants of Yahweh. We don't need a religion. We have the true and living Elohim. So why would you relegate yourself to serving a religion? Why would you lower yourself because you want a religion? Islam is a religion. Christianity is a religion. You are a great people that the Almighty made a covenant with. He didn't give you a religion. He gave you himself. Now, who would want to trade Yahweh for religion except an absolute fool? Notice what Yahweh told our people about himself. If we go to the book for a moment of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, the 6th verse, read that to our
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy
For
people
thou art a holy people
unto Yahweh thy Elohim. Yahweh thy Elohim hath chosen thee to be a special
to
people
be a special people
unto himself
above
all people
all people.
that are upon the face of the
There
earth.
is nobody that God did not put you above. That's reading all the other nations are laughing and granting that you are at the bottom now. And they want to keep you at the bottom. And as long as you serve these false idols that your enemies gave you, you will remain at the bottom. And I said many, many, many times before that the greatest criticism that I have for my people is that we have relied on the same man that mistreated us to teach us. And common sense should tell you that if a man won't treat you right, he won't teach you right. And this is the man that gave us Christ. Now, do you think that the white man, if he thought Christ could save you, he would have introduced you to you? And when was Christ introduced to the black man? He was introduced to us when we were on the plantation, when we were his slaves. And he knew he could keep you his slave if he gave you a God that could not save, a God that could not fight, a God that would teach you to only love your enemies and love them that despitefully use you and persecute you and mistreat you. He know that if he gave you a dose of Christianity, he would keep you on the bottom. And today you're still at the bottom. And you've been serving Christianity ever since we were on the plantation. You just started voting a few years ago, but you've been serving Christ all your life. Your parents have been serving Christ all their life. And he hadn't proffered you one single thing. He hadn't proffered you at all. Notice what Jeremiah said in Jeremiah, the 8th chapter. And we'll start reading at the 20th verse. Notice what the great prophet Jeremiah said about how sick our people are. They say that insanity is when a man does the same thing over and over but expect different results. I heard a preacher the other day, I'm watching TV, and he was on there talking about, the greatest love of his life and the greatest thing in his life that ever happened to him is when he fell in love with Christ. Well, you know why he fell in love with Christ? Because once he fell in love with Christ, he knew that was an instrument that he could utilize to rape his people, to exploit his people, to plunder the money away from his people. And now this preacher is a millionaire, lives in $1 million house, and has $1 million in the bank. No wonder he loves Christ. No wonder these preachers love Christ, because Christ has profited them, but he has not profited our people. Our people have only been destroyed. Notice what Jeremiah said in Jeremiah the 8th chapter, verse 20.
The harvest is past.
The harvest is past. Look how many harvests have passed since the white man introduced you to Christianity in the 1600s. Look how many harvests have passed.
The summer is
The
ended,
summer is ended,
and we are not saved.
and we're still not saved. Another year went by, another year. And Christ told us in the New Testament that anything that we would ask for in his name, he would give it to us. Anything. That's what he said.
Oh,
And if he
oh,
can, and how many?
okay, y'all go to St. John 14, verse 11 through 14, and that's what he's talking about, because he ain't going to talk about it, but, you just read it for yourself later on. Go ahead.
Of slaves, do you think asked him for freedom? Do you think Nat Turner, who was a Christian minister, Nate Turner was a Protestant minister. Do you think that he asked for freedom? Yes, he did. He asked for it. And what did he get? Notice Jeremiah. The harvest is past. The summer is ended. And we're not saved. For the hurt of the daughters of my people am I hurt. I am black. Ani Kahor. I am black. Astonishment has taken hold of me. He was astonished because his prophet looked in the future and seen the state of our people. And Yah said he would be astonished because when anybody see our people, they would look and say, I'm astonished. What happened to this people? Why are they so destructive to one another? Why weren't they progressive enough to want to have their own? Why don't they ever want to return to nation Africa, the greatest continent in the world, and build up their own nation? Why does they come over here, and as soon as they come over here, they get a good job, they don't even want to go back home? Why is it that they lost all sense of who they are? I'm astonished, said Jeremiah. Astonishment has taken hold of me. He said, is there no Baal in Gilead? In other words, is there no medicine there? Is there no physician there? Then why then is not the health or the daughters of my people recovered? And we're asking today, all these doctors are giving you all these drugs that's killing you. Drugs that will suppress one thing and create 7 and 8 more symptoms and other problems. If these drugs are any good, is there any medicine here in Babylon? Why are my people still sick? Can we take some medicine and learn to love each other? Is there a medicine that we can take that will stop us from being so destructive to one another? Is there some kind of medicine we can take and it will cause us to recover from the ill treatment that have been done to our people and our ancestry for years? Is there no Baal in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Then why are our people not recovered? Let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, 28th chapter. What verse did we leave off? Verse 37. Now, before we go to verse 37, there's something else I want to say about verse 36. Notice, read verse 36 again.
Yahweh shall bring thee, and thy king which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
He's talking about America. Let me repeat that. He's speaking of America.
And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb amongst all nations, whether Yahweh would lead thee. Why would we be an astonishment? Because we wouldn't have a name. They would name us anything they wanted their names. According to the annals of history of slavery, any father and mother that was called naming their children after themselves would be severely punished. Any father or mother that was caught teaching a child their original language would be severely punished. Any father and mother that was trying to teach their child anything except how to fear master would be severely punished. And we would become a proverb because we wouldn't know who we were. We had to be who he named us. And the Almighty prophesied that. Let's go to the book of Psalms, 83 for a moment. Book of Psalms, the 83rd division. And look what Yahweh said would happen to our people. And look what our enemies, he said, would do to our people. According to Psalms 83,
Keep not thou silence, O Elohim.
He tell we cry to him and say, keep not thy silence, O Elohim.
Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Elohim. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult,
And they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
they have taken crafty counsel.
Notice what kind of counsel they took against the Most High and his people. It said, this devil took crafty counsel, not only counsel with each other, but they took crafty counsel
Against thy people,
against the people of Yahweh, which is the house of Israel.
and consulted against thy hidden
And
ones.
they consulted against our people.
They have said,
Come and let us cut them off from being a nation. That's what they wanted to do, and this is what they did during slavery. They said, let us come. All these nations got together and took crafty counsel and said, one way we can destroy them is come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel would be no more in remembrance. So they didn't allow us to call ourselves Israelites. They took that name away. They wouldn't allow us to name our baby Jeremiah or Elisha or Zephaniah or Hosea. They had to name them Charlie and John and Timmy and Curdy and Reno and Rab. They had to name them their name. We're the only people in the world that's wearing another man's name because they took our name away. So you know he's not talking about the Jewish man. Let's stop for a minute. If you run into a Jewish man and ask him his name, he'll say his name is Mr. Goldberg or Silversmith or Frankenstein or Mr. Julie. He'll give you a name and say, where did you get that name from? Ask him. And he would say that was always the name of my ancestry. Those are the names of my father, and I'm wearing it because I want to honor my father, like the Chinese and the Japanese and the Russian and everybody else honor their fathers by naming their children after their culture, after their people. Then you ask him and say, well, aren't you the true Israelite? And then he would say yes and say, well, if you're the true Israelite, I thought the Almighty took your name away. And I thought he gave you other people's names. Yeah, your name is not Israel. You're telling me your name was always Silverstein and Wolfgard and Bloomberg and Steinberg. These are your names. Nobody imposed these names on you. These are your names. But on the other hand, those other people that's fighting over that piece of pigtail, that's not their name. Their name is not Reynolds and Thomas and Smith and Jones and Lewis. But these are names that was imposed upon them on a plantation. Why did your people take their name away? Why did your people not allow them to address their children by the names of their great-grandfather? They didn't allow it because they were in the process of cutting you off from being a nation. And when you stop a person from being a nation, you take away his name. And once you take away his name, you're taking away his culture. And once you take away his culture, you have taken away his identity. And once you have taken away his identity, then that man becomes a proverb and a byword and an astonishment amongst all the other people. Because everybody knows that name except him. Everybody has a nation except him. That's how you know the black man in America is the original Hebrew Israelite. We are the only people in the world that they took our culture away, they took our name away, they took our language away, they took us out of our land, they took us out of our community, and they would not allow the elder people to teach the children, and they made it a law that if a black man is caught reading a book, he would be severely punished. In some states, they would cut their hand off. In other states, they would break up the family and sell them as a way of intimidating them about reading. That was the worst thing. That was two things that was bad for a slave to do. Look at a white woman and read a book. They don't mind you looking at a white woman because they want you lost and the state lost. But they don't want you to search out your identity. They want you to read their books, but they don't want you to listen to Yahweh's prophet. They don't want you to listen to Elisha. Yah said he would do nothing except what he reveals unto his servants, the prophets. That's the reason you go to church on Sunday morning and all you can see is a fool jumping up and down, acting like he's a big windbag, not doing nothing, just sweating and grunting and running and making all kinds of sound and appealing to your emotions, trying to get you to holler and scream, because he's not bringing nothing to the table. He can't talk to you like I am, because he has no message. Notice what the Creator said his message would be. Hold this for a minute. Now hold Psalms 83, because we're coming back here. But notice what the Most High said about these preachers in the book of Jeremiah, the 5th chapter. The Creator said in the 5th chapter of Jeremiah, verse 13.
And the prophet shall become wind.
These false prophets shall become wind, and the word is not in them. Thus should it be done unto them. Yahweh said they should just be a big windbag. And that's what all these prophets and all these old preachers are. They're big windbags. They can entertain you. And that's why you go to their churches, to be entertained. But they're not teaching you nothing that can profit you as a people. Nothing that can profit you as a people. They're big windbags. But notice verse 14. And that's what you're getting from me.
Wherefore thus saith Yahweh Elohim of hosts, because ye speak this word.
Because you speak this word, y'all tell the prophets, because you're speaking my word. Because you're going to the people telling them, what thus said Yahweh. Wherefore thus said Yahweh the Elohim of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. And this word is burning you up. And there's no escape from it, because it's the truth. Let's get back to the book of Psalms 83.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people,
Taking crafty counsel against our people,
and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in
that
remembrance.
the name of Israel shall be no more in remembrance. And then the Almighty tell you the various nations that confederated together and to craft the counsel that cut us off from being a nation. Notice what it says. If you start reading verse 6, the first person he's named is what?
The tabernacles of Edom,
The Jewish people. The tabernacle of Edom. The Jewish people. The first one he named. Now Farrakhan will tell you what the Jewish people did. He will tell you how they played a hand as far as the destruction of the black man in America is concerned, but Mr. Farrakhan will not tell you what the Arabic people did. He will not tell you what the Ishmaelites did. He will not tell you there was the Ishmaelite servants and merchants in Africa that sold us to the white man. He will not tell you that because he wants to deal with that and claim their religion and try to get their money So he's not going to tell you the truth about the Israelites. But look what the Almighty says. For they are consulted together with one consent. They are confederated against thee, the tabernacle of Edom, and the Ishmaelites. Now he ain't going to talk about the Ishmaelites because they give him money. And he's pondering their religion. Even though he claims we're Israelites, he's still talking Islam. Now, if you're an Israelite, now why would you take hold to a religion that was started thousands of years after your nation had been developed? If you know you're an Israelite, then why aren't you serving the God of Israel? Why aren't you serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Why aren't you teaching our people about Yah's great Sabbath day? Why aren't you teaching them about his great laws and covenants? Why aren't you doing that? You can't do that because you're holding on to that lie. And Yah's servant is going to expose every one of you as I am doing this very day. You're all on shaky ground. All of the ministers. And notice what Yah said further about these ministers that are ripping off our people. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel for a moment. And I'm going to show you what Yah said in the 34th chapter of the book of Ezekiel. All right, let's start reading at verse 1.
And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim unto the shepherds.
Thus said Yahweh Elohim unto the shepherds.
Woe be to the shepherds of Israel, that do feed themselves.
You're feeding yourselves. You're capitalizing and making all this money and getting rich, feeding yourselves.
Should not the shepherds feed the flock?
The duty of a shepherd is to feed the flock, not to feed himself.
Ye eat the fat, and ye clothe with the wool. Ye kill them that are fed, but ye feed not the flock.
But ye feed not the flock.
The disease have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick, neither have ye bound up that which was broken.
Neither have ye bound up that was broken, said Yahweh.
Neither have ye brought again that which was driven away.
Neither have ye brought again that which was driven away.
Neither have ye sought that which was lost.
Neither have they sought that which was lost.
But with force.
But with force.
And with cruelty.
And with cruelty. That's the reason they killed a lot of people that got in their way. That started exposing them. That's the reason Malcolm X is dead today. That's the reason a lot of other men are dead today. Because they are exposing this abomination that's taking place.
With force and with cruelty have ye ruled them, and they were scattered because there is no shepherd.
They were scattered because there is no shepherd.
And they became meat to all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and upon every high hill. Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the base of the earth, and none did search.
None did search
or seek after them.
or seek after them. Now let's go real quick. I'm going to have a few moments left. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the lines to talk to any of my brothers and sisters here. Any brothers and sisters that got any comments, I want to hear. Any brothers and sisters that have any rebuke of anything that I'm saying, that disagree with anything, call in. But we're first going to go to our dearly beloved brother, Black Lion, and we're going to let him make his comment, and then we're going to go to others. If anybody want to call in, we got a couple lines open, 749-1230. We want to hear you. If you believe that we're teaching the truth, call in. And if you believe that what we're saying is a lie, call in. Call in and let the world know that at least you're lying to the people. Call in. Right now, we're going right to the black line. Yes, sir. Shalom, shalom, brother. How you doing?
I'm very well, very well. As I just listened to the show and what the comments say, great show. I mean, extremely great show today. Hopefully I can get a copy of this show. This is another award-winning conversation piece.
Thank you. You sure can. We're going to have it for the people. And by Wednesday, if you want a copy, all you have to do, anyone else, can call me Wednesday at 226-7110. 226-7110.
Yes, thank you, and shalom.
Shalom, brother. Thank you. All right. Right now, we got a phone call all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. And who is this? This is one of the greatest teachers in the world on the line. Out of Atlanta, Georgia, the great Moray, Elkanan Ben Israel. Let's go right to him on line 2. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, brother. I will tell you, I have truly enjoyed that truth you have given to our people. That was the most dynamic words of wisdom that our people could have ever heard all their life about who we are as people. I love you, brother.
Thank you. I love you too, brother.
And just keep up the great work, my brother.
Thank you. Brothers like you encourage me. Well, I have no choice but to do so, brother. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for everything and keep up the tremendously great work you're doing in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you. I definitely will do that, and I know you're doing it right now. So praise the mighty Yahweh.
Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
All right. Anybody else who want to call in to say anything? Call in at area code 513-749-1230. Right now we have a phone call all the way from North Carolina. Brother Don from North Carolina. Let's go right to him. Shalom, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Shalom to you, Brother Elisha.
Thank you. Shalom.
Again, I just have to echo what the previous callers have said, that the word that you have given is most true and most righteous, and it behooves us to just to adhere to what you're saying as a people.
Hallelujah. Praise the mighty God.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
With this, our current president, President Barack Obama, he had the Israeli Jewish prime minister in Washington recently, and telling everybody that these people are the original people, basically implying that they're the people. They should just go back to 1967 land and go back to the swamp some land with Palestinians. And what would you say about something like that?
Well, I want the world to know two things. First of all, the other day they killed Bin Laden. They killed the wrong enemy. The enemy of the United States is American foreign policy. The American foreign policy is what created Bin Laden, and it will create other Bin Ladens. And what foreign policy is that? The foreign policy that does two things. One, a foreign policy that shows privileges and favoritism toward the state of Israel against all of their Arabic neighbors. There is no justice in their relationship with the other Arabic nations compared to the state of Israel. And all the other nations know it. And then we have another great deceit. Their foreign policy is a policy that got false people up, put them in our land, calling them the Israelites or the Israelis, and try to keep us over here in America asleep. That foreign policy will create many enemies for the United States because Yahweh will make the enemies for them.
Mm-hmm.
They will eventually have to give us our land. They will eventually have to recognize us as the true heirs of the land. But the foreign policy they have And they got Barack Obama lying, talking about other people, the Jews. And he's trying to find a way to keep them on the land and keep them happy and keep the people listening. There's no hope for peace to be over there. There will be no peace in that land until we return home. And there's nothing that Bin Laden can do. There's nothing that Barack Obama can do. There's nothing that no man can do that will fight against the words of the true and living Elohim. Until they adopt a foreign policy that will recognize us as the true heirs of that land and bring us home, as the Almighty said that they would do, there will be no peace there. No peace.
Well, brother, all I want to say is whether they adhere to this word or not, Yahweh's word is true, and we will return to our land.
Oh, yes.
And I just want to thank you and hope that Yahweh, pray that Yahweh keeps you.
Thank you. Thank you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. And if anybody else want to make any comments at all, positive or negative, we're here. Just call in. We're waiting for you to call in. 749-1230. Let the world hear that everybody in Cincinnati is not 14 karat crazy. Let the world hear that everybody in America, all the blacks in America, are not 14 karat crazy. A lot of our people waking up to their true identity every day. And they are recognizing the true creator. So if you have any comments, call in. Right now, I'm going to go to Sister Deborah. We're going right to line to Sister Deborah. And anybody else want to call in? 749-1230. Area code 513. Sister Deborah.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
I just could not hold it. I wanted to leave the lines open so people could call in, but I just want to say this was absolutely one of the best messages. I agree with Moray Elkanai. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I just want to thank you and praise the mighty Yah for you to continue teaching and training up our people so that we could get out there and fight for our people the way you have been fighting for so many years. Praise the mighty Yah.
Praise the mighty Yah. May God bless you forever.
Thank you, brother. Love you, love you, love you. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. And if anybody else, regardless where you live, Cleveland, Chicago, New York, Columbus, anywhere you live, Cincinnati, Dayton, Kentucky, Georgia, call in. Let the world know that Israel is waking up and that everybody in America that are black are not 14 karat crazy. And everybody in America that's black got another destiny other than the thing that all we need to do is vote to be free. So if anybody want to make any comments, please call in. Area code 513-749-1230. And next week we're going to still deal with this very beautifully, highly explosive subject, the true identity of the black man in America. And I want to personally thank all the people that called and left their various great messages of encouragement. And I want to have God ask him to bless you and our people forever. But we're going to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And you can only get it one place here out of Cincinnati, and that's on The Buzz. 1230 The Buzz, WDBZ Radio. And until next week, if anyone wants to call me, any questions, any comments, 226-7110. Or go to our internet, www.houseofisrael.org. House of Israel spelled YISRAEL. And until next week, Yahweh love you very much, and so do we at the House of Israel. Shalom.
Oh. Yeah, hold on, brother. Since I got a part 2 to that video, so I'm gonna take that one out. I ain't take it out. Right there. Okay. Yeah, I got a part 2. Then after the video go off, we'll talk about it, once everything is over with.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Again, Marie, Alicia, Israel, of the house of Israel, bring your truth or traditions. Today we're again honored to bring you the word of Yah. Who is this Yah? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that therein is. Yahweh is the only judge, the only lawgiver, the only savior of Israel and the world. Well, today we're blessed again to be here on Truth or Tradition, and we have a treat for you. We are going to attempt to conclude our lesson today on who is the black man in America. And of course, if you've been listening the last few weeks, we have been proving by a preponderance of scriptural evidence that the black man in America is no other than the original seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes, we are the true Israelites of the Bible. And we will get into this lesson today. But before we embark upon this great program, we're going to again bring you another beautiful song from our choir at the House of Israel, the Voices of Zion. We will sing one of our favorite songs, one in which I participate. It is called The Sign.
Exodus 31, 12 through 17. This is how you get down with the Israelite team. Praising Yahweh, yeah, Elohim on this holy convocation day. Now shall I do what he work? Now, in the picking of sticks. Then you look at Uncle. This is what you do. I think you're rolling your own. Don't go out doing that work, you get stoned. And we telling our brothers and sisters, please listen to what the Most High says. It's every special each and every day, but there's one day to say goodbye. Great job. And get the truth to shine. And I'm telling you, I'll never leave it behind. Always keep it on my mind. This is how we get refined. Each and every time that we shine. And anybody coming into my house where you watch me speak, watch. I don't want nobody speaking out of turn. You came in to listen and learn. Watch, come out your mouth, don't let your soul be burned. Please just turn to the most high. This is how we say goodbye. He wants us to tell the children of Israel who are trapped in these gates of hell. Please just learn how to do it well. That they was turned from these wicked ways that they do work Saturday. Matter of fact, it was that turn
the sky, all going to the earth under the waters. Please help me, my sons and daughters. In this Yahweh Saturday, thou shalt not do any work, no. Matter of fact, let me read the commandment. Remember the Saturday to keep it holy. 6 days shall a labor and do all the work. With the Saturday holy unto Yahweh, thou shalt not do any work. Thou know thy son, know thy daughter, man, servant, maid, servant, know thy ox, know thy ass. So let this holy day pass. Over 6 days, Yah made the heavens and earth, the sea and all the in the midst, and rested on the Saturday. Wherefore Yahweh bless the Saturday and keep it holy. So remember the Saturday. It is a time between me and thee. Thus saith Yah. Please, my people, hear what he gotta say. Praise Yah for the Saturday. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Again, Maria Alicia Israel of the House of Israel, bringing you truth or tradition. Well, today we are going to attempt to conclude our lesson on who is the original Israelites. Who is this black man in America? Is he just someone that lost his identity? Or is he the people, or part of the people that are spoken of in the Holy Scriptures? Last week we were dealing in a chapter of the Bible called Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Within the confines of this chapter, one can learn the true identity of the original Israelites, because that's why that chapter was occasioned. The 28th chapter of Deuteronomy was wrote for the sole purpose that it would be a sign to the world to reveal who Yahweh's chosen people are. Last week, I believe we left off in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and we will start reading at the 41st verse. But notice what Yahweh says about these great signs that I'm revealing to our people today. The very 46th verse, it says,
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
That means these wonders, these curses, and these blessings will be upon thee for a sign
And for a wonder.
and for a wonder.
Upon thy seed forever.
Upon our seed forever. Not for one generation, not for 10 generations, but forever. So, in fact, if the Jewish people were the original house of Israel, they are the ones that's supposed to be a recipient of the various signs that we're reading to you. But the truth of the matter, they are not. And the only one on the face of this earth that is a recipient of the various curses that Yah said would befall his chosen people are no other than the black man in America. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. We read from the 15th verse to verse 41. But notice what 15 says. According to Deuteronomy 28th chapter, the 15th verse, it says,
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim,
It will come to pass if we would not listen and hearken to the voice of our Creator,
to observe, to do all his commandments.
These are the same commandments that the New Testament teaches people that are done away with. If you read the New Testament, they will discourage you in keeping the laws of Yahweh. They will tell you that these laws are done away with and have been nailed to the cross, and we're no longer under these laws. Notice how it attempts to brainwash our people. If we hold that verse and go to the New Testament, the St. John, the first chapter, I believe we want to read the 17th verse. And I want you to see this big lie that's on verse 17.
For the law was given by Moses.
It said the law was given by Moses. This is not so. That is what you call a straight out lie. The law was given by the Most High Himself. And the first one that the Almighty gave the law to was not Moses, but rather Adam. Do you think for a moment that the earth could exist without being in a total state of chaos, without Yah's laws, commandments, and directions? No. That's how we had holy and righteous men, because these men knew the law of Yahweh. Even if you look at Noah, the first thing the Most High said about Noah is that Noah found grace in his sight because he was a perfect and just man. Now, he could not have been a perfect and just man had he not been acquainted with the Almighty's laws. And he was, because he was a great grandchild of another great holy man named Enoch. And Enoch, it said, walked with Elohim and was not. What does that mean? That means that he was not because he walked with Elohim, and the Creator loved him so much that he took him up in his heavenly estate with him. Now, the scriptures tell us that how can two walk together except they be agreed? And you know that Noah was not walking with the Almighty, eating pig feet, worshiping a false idol, and not keeping the Sabbath day that Yahweh blessed and sanctified, for in it he had rested from all the work that he had made. Do you think that he walked with Yah and did not observe all these great laws? And do you think for one moment that Noah, that Enoch did not teach these great laws to his family? He did. That's the reason we know that according to the scriptures, it says that Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh because he was a just man. He was a righteous man. And by him being a righteous man, he knew the laws because the laws was given to him. If he didn't know the laws, how do you think the Almighty would have told Noah to bring 7 pair of clean animals in the ark? Now, how would he be capable of distinguishing and differentiating one animal over the other if he didn't know what was clean and what was unclean? He knew it because he walked with Elohim. Notice what it says. We go to the book of Genesis and we go to maybe around the 7th chapter. Notice what the Most High said to this great man called Noah. In the 6th chapter of Genesis, the 8th verse, it says,
But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh.
He found grace because he kept that law that he gave to Adam. And Adam gave to Seth, and Seth gave to his descendants, and their descendants, and their descendants. And it said Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh.
These are the generations of Noah.
Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation. Not only was he a just man, but he was a man that was perfect in his generation. And then the book says, and Noah walked with Elohim. Now, what does that mean? If we turn our books to the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, notice what the Creator tells Israel in the 3rd chapter, the 2nd and 3rd verse. It says,
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
therefore will I punish you for all of your iniquities. That's why we were punished. And then the Creator said,
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
can two walk together except they be agreed? And the truth of the matter, no. A man and wife cannot walk in harmony throughout marriage if they're not in agreement. Yah cannot have a servant walking with him if that servant is not in total agreement with him. And notice what the Almighty said in the same 6th chapter about a man by the name. We're going to start reading right here, where Yah talks about another great man that was a great descendant of Noah. And we'll find that in the 5th chapter. Notice what it says in verse 21 and 22, or should I say 23 and 24.
And Enoch walked with Elohim, and he begat Methuselah 300 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with Elohim, and he was not, for Elohim took him.
He walked with Elohim. What does that mean? We see that the book says Enoch walked with him. It says Noah walked with him. It tells us that Abraham walked with him. How did these men walk with him if they did not know his word? If they were not righteous? If they had not received his commandments? And the scriptures plainly let us know that these men had received the commandments of the Most High. Notice what it says in the book of Genesis, the 17th chapter, the very first verse. It reads,
And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim.
I am the Almighty Elohim.
Walk before me and be thou perfect.
Before me and be thou perfect. Now, how could he be perfect if he had not already received the commandments? And we go to the book of Genesis, the 26th chapter. Notice what it says here in verse. We're going to start reading the 26th chapter of Genesis. And we're going to start reading around the 3rd, or should we say, the 4th and the 5th verse.
And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give unto thy seed all these countries.
And he tell Isaac, the son of Abraham, I will give unto thy seed all these countries.
And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed.
He's talking to Isaac. And then notice what Yahweh told Isaac about his father, Abraham.
Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
Here, the Creator said, I'm going to do this to you, Isaac, because your father Abraham, he obeyed my voice and kept my charge, kept my commandments, and my statutes, and my laws. Well, how could he keep these laws if the law came by Moses? How can he keep these commandments if the law came by Moses? Moses was not yet even born. World reality, brothers and sisters. The Almighty knew that the world could not exist without his laws. Everything living is under the laws of the Creator. Do you know what a mess, how chaotic it would be if the earth tried to exist one moment outside of the laws of the Creator? What if the sun said to itself, I'm not going to keep the laws of Yah, the laws that he gave me? What would the sea and the oceans say if they said, I'm not going to obey the laws that Yah gave unto me? I'm going to do whatever I will. If the wind, the storm, the vapor, the snow, the moisture, if everything that exists on this earth did not conform to the laws of the Most High, there would be no earth. And they lead us to believe that Yah took the most precious thing that he made on earth, which is man, and told him, you don't have to keep my laws. Well, first of all, brothers and sisters, do you know why we were created? Have you ever considered, have your Sunday school teacher or your Sabbath school teacher ever told you why we were created in the first place? What is the whole duty of man? What did Yah want or expect out of us when he created the first man? Well, if you want this answer, it can be readily found in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. I want you to go there. Write it down if you're not able to look it up now. Go to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, and we're going to read the 12th and the 13th verse. And here's what it says.
And further by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books, there is no end.
Making many books, there is no end. And you get tired and sleepy just reading books. And the Almighty did not want us to do that. That is not necessary for our redemption.
And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
I can attest to that. Much study will just really wear you out. Much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
So let's see the bottom line. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So not only was it the duty of Israel, not only was it the duty of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, not only was it the duty of Enoch and Methuselah and Joel and Noel, but this is the whole duty of man collectively. If man began to walk out of the bounds of the law of the Most High, it would just be total. You think it's chaotic now, there would be total chaos on the face of this earth. Yah knew this. Read the next verse.
For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment.
In other words, the whole duty of man is to fear Yahweh and keep his commandments. Because it is within these commandments that Yah is going to use to judge man collectively. Let's read what it says in the very next verse. Very next verse.
For Elohim shall bring every work.
He shall bring everybody's work
into judgment. With every secret thing.
With every secret thing that everyone does.
Whether it be good.
Whether your actions are good.
Or whether it be evil.
And whether it be evil. So you see, everybody must be accounted for himself and for his work. Because God's going to take every man and every work and bring it into judgment. Whether that work is good or whether it is evil. So don't believe this lie that you read in the book of 1 John, the first chapter, the 17th verse, that the law came by Moses. Let's go there again. It says the law came by Moses. But
grace and truth came by JC.
Notice what it said. It is applying. Let me take that back because it's not implying. It is stating emphatically that there was no grace and there was no truth on this earth until Christ came. And you know that is wrong. Because the first thing we read in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter, is that Noah found grace in the sight of Yahweh. Yahweh's grace and mercy have always been on this earth. And believe me, brothers and sisters, His mercy endured forever. I myself can contest that the only reason that I'm here today before you is because of His grace and because of His mercy. So don't believe that grace and mercy came centuries later by a man called JC. There's no truth in that at all. And as far as truth, that's how we know that the law was always here, because Yahweh was always here. And according to the words of Yahweh, Yahweh's laws are truth. That's how the Bible defines truth. Truth is defined as being the words of the Most High. And His truth is the laws. Let's go for a moment to Psalms 119 and let me show you what Prophet is speaking about. According to Psalms 119, it says, and we're going to start in verse 142.
Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness.
So Yah's righteousness is not just the JC code, and neither did it start with JC or the Christ of the New Testament. It said, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and the law is the truth. That's how the Bible defines truth. Truth is defined as being the words of Yah. Look at another verse, verse 151.
Thou art near, O Yahweh, and all thy commandments are truth.
Not only is the law true, but all thy commandments is true. So when Yah speaks, that is the commandments. When He speaks, that is law. When He gives a law, the law is truth. And when He gives a commandment, the commandments are defined as truth. Look at verse 160 in the same chapter.
Thy word is true from the beginning.
Thy word is true from the beginning.
And every one of thy righteous judgments endure forever.
And every one of thy righteous judgments endure forever. So truth has always been with us. Now, believe it or not, even the Christ of the New Testament, even the Christ of the New Testament, when He defined truth, He defined truth as being not His words, but the words of Yahweh. Look what He is alleged to have said in John, the 17th chapter. St. John, that is the 17th chapter. And look how He is alleged to define truth. He defined truth in the 17th verse by saying,
Sanctify them through thy truth.
He is here speaking to Yahweh, His Father, our Father, and your Father. He's saying, sanctify them through thy truth. And then He says, thy word is truth. And so the Christ of the New Testament even defined truth as being the words of the true and living Elohim. And then notice what else He said about Yahweh's word. If you go to the book of St. John, the 8th chapter, Notice what he said in the 8th chapter of St. John. I believe I want to go to verse 32. It says,
And ye shall know the truth,
and ye shall know the truth,
and the truth shall make you free.
and the truth shall make you free. Did you hear how Christ is defining the truth as the words of the Most High? He said, and ye shall know the truth. And the truth is already defined as being the words of the Most High. All the songs and prophets defined it as being the words of the Most High. And then he says, verse 32, and ye shall know the truth. That means you should know Yahweh. You should know his commandments. And the truth shall set you free. And believe it or not, even Christ in the New Testament, when they spoke to him and asked him, how can man be saved? How can man inherit eternal life? Do you know what Christ told him? I know your ministers don't like to point this out, but if you look in your book, to the book of Matthew, the 19th chapter, the 16th verse, you will see that Christ in the New Testament told the man that if he wanted to have eternal life, then you must keep Yahweh's commandments. He didn't say if you want to have eternal life, you have to believe in me. He didn't say if you want to have eternal life, you have to be baptized in the Holy Ghost and speak in tongues. He didn't tell a man that if you wanted to have eternal life, that you have to be a Christian and follow him. But if you notice in the book of Matthew, 19th chapter, 16th verse, it is alleged to have said,
And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do, that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good?
why are you calling me good? Only people call me good is people that don't know me, that don't have any understanding, that have no divine knowledge. Let me put you in check right now, mister. Why would you have the audacity? Why would you have the gall to call me good? I know I'm a minister and you ask me about eternal life, but before I even speak to you on eternal life, I want to reprove you for what you just said. I think, sir, that you pertain to me as good. And I want to know, why are you calling me good? And then he said, there is none good but one. He didn't say there's none good but three, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. He said there's none good but one, and that is Elohim. But if thou desire life, eternal life, keep the commandments. Read that to him.
And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is Elohim. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
So we see that the commandments are true, the law is true, and the law is the reason that you and I are in America today. Mr. and Mrs. Black Man, we're in America because we refuse to hearken to the laws and commandments of our Creator. That's why we're here in the first place. And then when we get here, these preachers set up these false churches that were given to them by the slave owner to help indoctrinate and miseducate us, and then they go and teach you about what Peter and Paul said, and tell you about how we can't keep the law, and how you're not supposed to keep the law, and how that if you keep the law, you're falling out of grace with God. And the hypocrite said, the law is my words. The law is the truth. So that's what we're talking about this brother, because we are dealing with who the black man is, and why is it necessary for me to explain our identity? Because once you and I realize who we are, then and only then And when we realize our obligation with the Most High, then and only then can you and I make the necessary preparations to establish our relationship with the true and living Elohim, as we had once done before in the days of old. So let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy so we can show you that these various signs, these various wonders are speaking of our people, the black man in America. Not the Jewish man, not any other man, but the so-called black Negro in America. Let's start reading in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We're going to read the 41st verse again.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
In other words, this only happened to us. According to history, there's no slavery on the face of this earth that ever existed in the annals of history that was like the unique slavery that you and I, or should I say, our foreparents experienced. It was a slavery whereas our whole culture was taken away. Our language was taken away. Our name was taken away. And our sons and daughters were taken away and changed, had the name changed, the language changed, and were put on different plantations where we were not accessible to them at all. No other history in the world has been so brutal, so devastating, so atrocious as this slavery that your and our parents went through many years ago. And here the Creator tells our people in the very 41st verse that thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Captivity to whom? Well, according to the scriptures plainly points out that these black men and women that came out of the heart of Africa, northeast Africa, out of Jerusalem, were sold to the Gentiles, were sold to the Romans and the Greeks. But where did I get that in? Rather to say that the children of Israel will be sold to the Gentiles, rather than say that they would be sold to the Europeans and brought to America. Well, I'm going to show you that today. The first thing I'm going to do is take you to the book of Joel. Let's go to the book of Joel, brothers and sisters. That's toward the end of the so-called Old Testament. And I want you to go to the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, so you can see why I say that you and I are serving the true and living Elohim. As I said many times before, a lot of people like to think that the plight of the black man in America is merely a tribute, an insignificant act that escapes the all-seeing eyes of Yahweh. But that is not so. Everything that has happened, everything that is happening, and everything that will ever happen to our people has already been spoken of by the mouth of the true and living Elohim. Notice what the Creator says in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. We're going to start reading at the 1st to the 3rd verse.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem,
I will also gather all nations,
and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat,
and I will plead with them for my people. In other words, this is a futuristic event. this is something that's supposed to happen in the very last days. It is supposed to have a great war that will happen on this earth between Yahweh and all the nations of the earth that have ever served all for his people. And he will gather those nations and bring those kingdoms into a place called the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And there will Yahweh with his great mighty arm and stretched out arm plead for his people as a mother pleads for her children. Notice what the Creator said he would do.
He will plead with them there for my people.
He said, I will plead with them for my people
and for my heritage,
and for my heritage, Israel,
whom they have scattered amongst the nations and parted my land.
And they have cast lots for my people, and have taken a boy for a harlot. In other words, they took a boy and made a sissy out of him. They took a boy for a harlot, and they sold our daughters. They sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Read that again.
And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine.
In other words, you see what they did. Also, they took a boy, and they wanted a whore. So they took the boy and sold him to get enough money so they could sleep with a whore. And then they took one of our little daughters that was really yanked and tore out of her mama's arms. And you know what they did with this little girl? They took a man and woman's daughter and sold them just so they could have money to drink some wine. That's what our people were worth to them. Nothing. And that's why God said he will grab these nations and bring them into the valley of Jehoshaphat. And he said, I will plead for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst their nations, and they parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink.
Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon?
And lo, he's talking to the Gentiles. He said, what have you to do with me, Tyre and Sidon,
and all the coasts of Palestine?
and when you render me a recompense,
And if ye recompense me swiftly,
and speedily,
will I return your recompense upon your own head.
because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and carried them into your temple, and my goodly, pleasant things. In other words, we have to say that's how they got all the precious things over in the Vatican, in Rome. They have all those artifacts and all those great historical things. They stole it. Just like this man robbed and steal graves, steal mummies out of the grave just to say, hey, look what I found, look what I had. A grave robber. When he went in our temple and stole our stuff and put it in theirs. That's why they have all those great artifacts in Rome and the Vatican. They stole it.
The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
You sold to the Greeks. They sold our people to the Grecians, the Europeans. That's where the daughters and sons of Israel ended up. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have he sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their borders.
Behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them,
And will return your recompense upon your own head.
and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off.
For Yahweh has spoken it. This will happen, brothers and sisters. As it has been done, so should it be done unto you. You will reap what you sow. Everything that goes around must come around. Yahweh requires that which is past. What does it say in the book of Leviticus or Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, the 15th verse? What did it say?
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15.
I know that whatsoever Elohim does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And Yahweh does it, that men may fear before him. What is that 14th verse says?
I know that whatsoever Elohim does,
Whatsoever he does, it shall be forever.
nothing can be put to it,
Nothing can be put to it,
nor anything taken from it.
and anything taken from it.
And Elohim does it, and men shall fear before him.
And what does the last verse say?
That which had been
That which has been,
is now.
that's now. That's what's happening today. Yahweh requires that which is past, that which has been, is now,
And that which is to be
and that which is to be,
has already been.
and Yahweh requires that which is past. And what does 1 and 9 say in the same chapter, same book, Ecclesiastes? 1 and 9.
The thing that had been,
The thing that has been,
it is that which shall be.
it is that which shall be,
And that which is done,
and that which is done.
is that which shall be done.
Yes, and as you have sold our children, so shall ye be sold unto other nations. Notice what the Creator says. And I will sell your sons and daughters into the hand of the children of Yehudah, and they shall sell them to disobedience to a people far off, for Yahweh has spoken it. And then it says,
Prepare ye this amongst the Gentiles.
prepare war,
Wake up the mighty men, and all the men of war draw near.
let them all come near against me, said Yah.
Beat your plowshares into swords.
Get all the instruments and turn these factories into making cars and start making weapons. Start making tanks and bazookas and all types of ornaments of warfare.
Beat your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong.
Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathens, and gather yourselves together round about.
Neither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh,
Let the heathens be wakened,
and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat.
for there will I sit to judge all the heathens round about.
Put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great.
Hello? God lets us know that their action will not go unpunished. As a man soweth, so shall he reap. Now let's get back in the book of Deuteronomy. I just want you to know that our sons and daughters were sold all over the world from one kingdom to another. And the Greeks bought our people and took them to Europe and sold a boy for Hala and a girl for some wine that they may drink. That's how insignificant our people were with him. And that's why Yah said he's going to gather these nations into the valley of Jehoshaphat and plead with him. Furthermore, if you look in the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, notice what it says in verse 10.
Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, said Yahweh.
Said Yahweh,
Neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar,
I will save thee from afar,
and thy seed from the land of their captivity.
and thy seed from the land of thy captivity.
And Yaakov shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Yahweh.
To save thee,
Though I make a full end,
and of all nations, whether I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will punish thee and measure, and not leave thee altogether unpunished. Here the Creator said he's going to make a full end of all the nations that have served all of us. Get back to Deuteronomy 28th chapter. We left off at verse 41. Read that again and go down to 43.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All the trees in the fruit of thy land shall the locust consume.
And they did. That's exactly what they did. When God turned his eyes from our land, he allowed all the green herbs to be consumed by the locust.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
And this is what happened around the world. The stranger, remember, our people gave the world the science, the math. We gave the knowledge to the world. But he said, the stranger that is within thee, that was our servant, should get up above thee very high. And he said he's going to take the stranger out of Europe and bring him up very high, and we would become down very low. And that's not only what he did to our people, but he did it to everybody that looked like us. Remember now who Abraham was, and who Abraham married, and who Isaac and Jacob was, and who they married. They were black people, but he said that these people would be brought down very low. Our people would be brought down very low, and the heathens will be brought up very high, and he shall lend to this stranger that was within us, that was our servant. The next thing you know, God took this servant that was living in caves, going in the corner, grabbing the mice, biting his head off, running from fire. Now he brought this man up very, very high and brought us down very, very low. And he said, this man shall lend to thee,
and thou shalt not bend to him. He shall be the head.
He shall be the head,
and thou shalt be the tail.
And that's where we are today. We're the tail. Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Crosby, they steal a tail and not the head. They don't head nothing. They steal a tail in this land. They can have money, but the money they got cannot buy them out of this situation, nor can it buy their descendants out of this situation. That's when Michael Jordan's father was shot down like a dog in the street by these men that lost their minds in our community.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee,
and shall pursue thee,
and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep his commandments, and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign,
and for a wonder,
and upon thy seed forever.
So he said these various curses, these various plagues and vexations, this evil shall befall us, and they shall be a sign upon us, and for a wonder upon us, and for us, and upon our seeds forever. Because thou servest not Yahweh with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies.
Since you didn't serve Yahweh, our Creator, with joyfulness and gladness of heart, and all the things that he blessed you with, now he's going to make you serve your enemy. Where you could have been out on Sabbath day, enjoying the Sabbath day, serving him only, keeping his commandments, you refuse to do that. Now you keep master's commandments. And you're not on no day if he don't want you to be on. And you have nothing to fight back because you don't have the true and living Elohim. All you got to plead your cause is a labor union. You don't have the Most High. But now thou shalt serve thy enemy, which Yahweh shall send against thee, and you're going to serve him in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed you. And that's what he did today. You know, it reminds me of the case of that, of this service had this elephant, and they took this elephant and they put this chain on his foot. And every time this elephant got ready to move, the chain held him back. And in the process of time, he got conditioned. He got conditioned to the fact that he could only stroll so far in life. After he made one step, he was never able to make two steps, for this chain pulled him back. So he was never able to walk as he wanted to, and as a man or an animal could walk. And that's exactly what happened to our people. They put a yoke of iron upon our heads until we destroyed it. And just like the elephant, they finally took the chain off the elephant and they put a little small rope on his leg. And you know what he did? Even though he had the power to tear that rope up, he would only go so far because he had been psychologically prepared and reduced to a creature that knew that he can only go so far in life. So he never tried to go further than when he felt resistance. And likewise, our people are in that shape today because we don't have the Almighty walking with us. So we go so far and we have that psychological chain that's going to put us back. That's the reason we're not producing anything as a nation in the world. That's the reason we're not manufacturing anything. That's the reason the Creator said we would be in a condition that we would have to go to this other man for want of all things. For thirst, we want water, we have to go to. We want food, we have to go to. We want clothing, we have to go to. We want jobs, we have to go to. He said you will go to him for want of all things until thou be destroyed. And we're destroyed as a nation today. That's why most of our people don't know their identity. They don't know who they are. They don't know why they're in this shape. They don't know who put them here. And they don't know if they will ever come out of this. They have no home. And they look at this place as their home now because they have lost their identity. They lost their mind. They don't have no knowledge. The scriptures let us know that if a man don't have a mind, then he don't know what he's doing. Just imagine for a minute. Let's imagine that you take a man in the middle of the desert, put a blindfold on him, turn him around in a circle 12 times, and take the blindfold off of him, and then ask the man, where you going? Well, the first thing the man gonna say is, what way did I come from? Because he don't have a perspective on life until they find out who he is and where he came from. Then he will make the determination if he want to go back in that direction or if he want to go in a different direction. But if you don't know where he came from, then he don't know where he's going. He's like a tree without roots. He has no perspective on life. And that's the condition of our people today. They don't know if they're going or coming. The scripture said, where there is no vision, the people perish. And our people don't have any vision. The average black man, his vision is to try to integrate, assimilate, and evaporate. That's his vision. Go to school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, send them to school, send them to college so they can go to school and get a job and get married. That's not a perspective on life. How will you ever be anything? How will you ever be able to help your people if you're following a vicious circle, just going to college so you can get a job? You should have a mind that will tell you that I want to be able to assert self-determination. I want to rule and govern our people like other nations are governing themselves. Why can't we be a nation no more? Why can't we be a great people no more? That has been destroyed. That's what God meant by the fact that until you've been destroyed. We're destroyed as a nation, and now we only function as a bunch of individuals, but no nationhood. Individuals. Let's keep reading.
Verse 49, Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce continents, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
And you know what it's talking about. I don't care how old our fathers were, he was always a boy. She was always a girl. And I don't care how young that baby was, he was never too young to be mistreated. He was never being too young to be torn out his mother's arms and sold to someone else. He was never too young for that. He didn't regard people of the old, nor did he show favor to the young.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee, neither corn, nor wine, nor oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee.
Until he has destroyed us. How does he destroy us? First thing he does, he had two great ways to destroy us. He took away our name. And once you take away a man's name, you take away his culture. And once you take away his culture, you take away his identity. And once you take away his identity, you took away his nationhood. He don't know who he is now. He cannot function as a nation. He can only function as a bunch of individuals. And individuals all walking in different paths, going in different directions. They will never be a nation that practice nationhood because they lost that perspective. That's why God said we would cease to be a nation before him. They took our identity, and they took this when they changed our name. And the second thing they had to do was not only to change our name, which I showed you they did last week. I want to just reflect on that a minute. And we go back to the book of Psalms, the 83rd dimension. It will show you the most cunning. There was two things they had to do to destroy us. Two things. One, they had to take away our name and our identity. And I'm going to show you where they did this. Second, they had to take Yahweh's law from us. Now, once they took the law, and we're no longer attempting to obey the Most High, then they totally cut us off from being a people. Because the law, brothers and sisters, is our whole life and the length of our days. Because the laws are the words of the Most High. And how can we live without the Most High? You understand? That's many years ago, the church said, well, God is dead. Well, they said God is dead because they said we don't have to, we're not under his laws no more. And once we're not under his laws, he might well be dead because he is of no significance at all to our people. Let's go to Psalms 83 again and notice how they devised to cut us off from the nation. Let's start reading at the first verse.
Keep not thou silence, O Elohim. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Elohim. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the hand. They have taken crafty counsel.
Crafty counsel. In other words, he's going to let you know that they could have did nothing greater. They were cunning. They were foxy. They were sagacious. And notice what they did. They said, let us take crafty counsel
Against thy people,
against our people.
and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
All right. Now you want to know who Israel is. I want everybody to listen very close. There were three main things that the Creator said would happen to the nation of Israel. I repeat, there are three main things that Yahweh said would happen to the nation of Israel that happened only to the black man in America. Only. Let me name those things. First of all, the Creator said they would take Israel's name from him. But brothers and sisters, we're the only people that's on the face of the earth that other people took our name from us. This was prophesied to happen to the nation of Israel. What you're reading here in Psalms, the 83rd chapter, where they said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel shall no more be in remembrance." Yes, it did happen to Israel, just as Yahweh said. But who is Israel? Notice Israel was for signs and for wonders. If you want to know who Israel is, you have to find out who this happened to. And this did not happen to the Germans, the Russians, the Chinese, the Ethiopians, the Ghanaians, the Kenyans, the Mexicans. This happened to the black man in America. They took our name. So our culture would disappear. That we would be no nation before them forever. That only happened to Israel, where they took our name. What else? What are the other two great signs that God said would happen to Israel that only happened to you and I? Do you know the Creator said, believe it or not, the Creator said that Israel would be brought out of their land to another land on ships. On ships. We are the only people in the world that were stolen out of our land, placed on ships, and taken across the sea to another land where we nor our fathers knew these people nor understand their languages. Did you know that was prophesied to happen to Israel? And did you know that you and I are the only other people, or should I say, you and I are the only people in the world that this happened to? The only people. We're the only people in the world that were taken out of their own land to the active captivity, taken to another land, and is waiting to be returned. Yah said we would remain in the land of our captivity until He returned us home in the last days. We're the only people that's waiting to be brought back home. What else? Let me show you that. Just like I showed you. Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Watch what it says in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 68th verse. Notice what it says.
And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Into Egypt again with ships. The first time we went from Jerusalem to Egypt, we walked. But he's talking about another Egypt. See, Egypt to us is indicative of slavery. Egypt to us is indicative to captivity. And he's telling us, and he's telling our people, Israel, because you have disobeyed me and not working unto my voice, I'm going to bring you into Egypt again. In other words, I'm going to bring you into slavery again, but with ships. This time you're not going to walk in Egypt. You're going to have to take ships to get into Egypt, because this Egypt that I'm going to take you to is thousands of miles away from your shore. Notice what it says in the 68th verse again.
And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
By the way whereof I spoke unto thee.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
You will see your land no more again.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
For bondsmen and bondwomen.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall buy us out of this condition. He's telling our people that we're going to leave our land in ships and go to another land in ships to another people that we don't know nothing about at all. Notice verse 36. Verse 36 of this same chapter. Notice what it says.
And Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Thee that neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shall ye serve other gods of wood and stone. What is he talking about? The 50th verse. The 49th verse. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from one end of the earth. As swift. Now he's talking about bringing us from one end of the earth to another. He's not talking about ancient Egypt, which you can walk to from Jerusalem to Egypt. They're on the same land base. They're on the same continent. Egypt and Jerusalem have always been a part of Africa, regardless what this man tried to change it to. It was part of Africa. But now y'all talking to Israel, saying, I'm going to bring you into a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth. As swift as an eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And I'm still stuttering, trying to understand this language and trying to speak fluently. And then it says,
a nation of fierce continent.
A nation of fierce continent that will cut your wife's head off, that will snatch your baby out the womb, that will take your babies out of your arm and sell them to another people if you don't do everything they tell you to do. This is a nation of fierce continents, which shall not regard the persons of the old, nor show favor to the young. Brothers and sisters, he's talking about America. He's talking about our people coming to America. And then there is another sign, a third sign that Yahweh said would befall Israel that only happened to you and I as a people. Yah told Abraham that I'm going to take your descendants and send them into slavery for 400 years. Sure. Let's go to the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter. And let us start reading verse 13 and verse 14 of the 15th chapter of Genesis.
And he said unto Abram,
He said unto Abraham,
know of a surety,
or should I say, he said unto Abram, know of a surety,
that thy seed
shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs,
and shall serve them
and afflict them
400 years.
400 years, not 430 years. So a lot of people say, no, he's talking about when we were in ancient Egypt. No. If you hold this page and go to the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, notice what it says in the 12th chapter, I believe it's the 40th verse of the 12th chapter. Here it says,
Now the sojourning of the children of Israel, who dwelt in Egypt, was 430 years.
now that's the whole sojourning. of the children of Israel for 430 years. Yahweh is not speaking of that. He's talking about a new and different incident altogether. He's talking about an incident of great harm. When we were in ancient Egypt, we did not go there on ships. We did not go to another people from one end of the earth to another. We did not go to a people whose tongue we did not understand. And when we were in slavery in ancient Israel, ancient Egypt, they did not separate our families. They did not tear our sons and daughters out of our homes and sell them to another people. They did not totally disrespect the elder and the young. This is a different breed and a different people, and it's a different scenario altogether. Now it says, verse 13, and he said unto Abraham, no of a surety, no of a certainty, no beyond a shadow of a doubt, this will happen just as I said it was going to happen. Not no 340 years, not no 430 years, but no of a surety.
That thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs,
And they shall serve him
and they shall afflict them 400 years.
400 years.
And also that nation
Whom they shall serve,
will I judge.
and afterwards they shall come out with great substance. The great substance that will come out is the wealth of the heathen that Yah prophesies in the book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter. This is a totally different animal than ancient Egypt altogether, brothers and sisters. This is a different scenario altogether. And if anybody wants to comment, anybody who wants to show any rebuttal of anything that I said, let them come and call in. Let them call in and bring their wisdom to the boards. Let's go. Isaiah 60th chapter, the first 2 verses.
Arise, shine, for thy light is come.
And the glory of Yahweh is risen upon thee,
For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth,
and gross darkness to people.
but Yahweh shall arise upon thee.
And his glory shall be seen upon thee. This is years after they came out of Egypt.
And the Gentiles shall come to thy light.
And the kings to the brightness of thy rising.
Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see, and flow together.
See, I always say when we get back home this last time, after the prophecy of Genesis 15 chapters complete, we are going to have all the wealth of the heathens. When we were just in Egypt, we got some silver and gold from the Egyptians. But God said this next time we come out of Egypt, we're going to have all the wealth of the heathens. Notice what it says in verse 9.
Surely the owl shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far.
The ships of England shall come first to bring thy sons from afar,
Their silver and their gold with them,
their silver and their gold with them,
unto the name of Yahweh thy Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee.
He has glorified us. He has glorified Israel.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy wall.
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
For in my wrath,
I smock thee.
but in my favor,
I will have mercy on thee.
therefore thy gate shall be open continually,
They shall not be shut day nor night.
and men may bring unto thee,
The forces of the Gentiles,
and that their kings may be broke.
for the nation and kingdom, for their nation, regardless what nation it is, for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall what? Perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary. And I will make the place of my feet glorious.
The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall come bowing themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of Yahweh, the Zion